Hello and welcome to the AURA Podcast with your girl, Kubi Springer. Today, I am sitting down with Chef Kelvin. He is dynamic, he is funny, and he's the head chef and partner of June's right here in Dubai, who really talks about the journey of identifying what it was that he wanted to create, having come from 4 generations of chefs.
I didn't want to have to just build my father's empire. I wanted to just kind of build my own little kingdom. So near the end of my contract, I talked to the owner. I was like, hey, listen, if you believe in me, just give me one shot. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, then we pack up, we go home.
This one is going to get you sitting on the edges of your seat, thinking about yourself. How have you developed grit in order to get to the next level? Enjoy it, and let's talk about it in the comments. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
How are you finding this?
This is stunning. Unreal.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
People sometimes think it's a green screen.
It looks fake because it's so pretty up here that it's hard to believe that it's actually real.
Yeah, it is. And you've come on a day where the clouds are none, which is beautiful.
Lucky day.
Yeah, lucky day. It's funny, when you were walking on, one of the first things you said is that the water's warm.
It's so comfortable. I want to sleep in here.
I know, it's so good. We actually have coming up soon, I think they call them sleeping beds. So they're going to be able to lie on the water on a bed with like these things on your eyes, meditation on your ears.
Oh, sign me up.
I know, right? I know. So tell me, Chef Kelvin, you've got such a beautiful story. For those who don't know kind of who you are and what you do, just give us an intro.
I'm a 4th generation in the industry, F&B industry. My great-grandparents had restaurants. My grandparents had restaurants in Hong Kong. My father went on to open 13 restaurants of his own in North America, then expanded to Mexico, and then back to Hong Kong. I grew up in Toronto and Chicago, and as the immigrant family, we're all chosen to do our professions. I was the chosen one to be a doctor. Got a biology degree, was going to go on to med school, started it. But somewhere deep inside, I always had that fire because I've been working for my parents since I was 12, full-time. Every day after school, 3:30, we'd be picked up, head to the restaurant, wash dishes, and that was it. That was our life.
Did you ever at any point feel the pressure to live up to the generation standard of cooking?
I think I was always like the black sheep of the family. So at a very, very early age, when I noticed that my brother and sister were helping out the family business, I knew early on that I wanted to do everything on my own. So I left the family business when I was super young. I packed up in my 12-year-old second-hand Honda Accord, threw everything in the trunk, and just drove off.
How old were you?
I was 21.
Wow. And you left, and why? What was the desire?
I knew that in order to kind of, again, to fulfill that kind of generational kind of history, I needed to forge my own way. And I didn't want to have to follow in the footsteps. My brother and sister chose a path which were their paths, which were a little bit easier. You know, they got to work at the family business, they had their fancy cars and fancy condos, and I was in my beater, and I drove off and I did it on my own.
And for you, doing it independently would give you freedom?
It's freedom. It probably, looking back, it may not have been the smartest of decisions. I thought that because I could cook, I could adult and I could figure it out on my own. I went back to Toronto and took my first sous chef job, working in ultra fine dining. But anything you know about like our industry, when you reach that kind of level of cooking and that kind of restaurant, at least back in the day, you were paid nothing. I was working 17, 18 hours a day, minimum wage, and found out that adulting is very hard in this industry. Ended up homeless for a couple of years, slept in my car, slept on a unpaved basement floor with some cardboard and some blankets, saved up enough money, picked up a second job, and then I got my own apartment finally, little tiny 400 square foot little place, got a third job, sold the apartment, bought a new house, and kind of just grinded and did it for many, many years.
Let's go back to that grinding moment where you were sleeping in the car and then you were homeless. The dream has to be so powerful to keep you there, because you could have easily gone home and had the cushion job with the family business. So what were you thinking in those moments?
Being a stubborn little bugger and just not wanting to lose.
I love that.
You don't want to give up, right?
Yeah.
But I knew this, I knew it was right. I knew I was like on the early nascent stages of creating something that would be my journey for the rest of my life.
And what did you want to create? What was the burn?
To build my own restaurant that was me.
Yeah.
And not have to there's nothing wrong with it, but I didn't want to have to just build my father's empire. I wanted to just kind of build my own little kingdom. And the only way I would do it was to kind of forge my own way, work my way up. And it's kind of sad if you look back at these days, because we always celebrate the grind of chefs. It's something that most chefs wear as like a badge of honor, saying, oh yeah, I work 20 hours a day, I work 7 days a week, I don't see my family, but this is the time, and this is kind of our age now in our generation of chefs where we break that mold and we need to change it. It shouldn't be something that we're proud of. So we're trying to now, as we continue to train younger chefs into the industry and bring about change in our industry, now it's about trying to figure out how to do the same thing, the same success, the same business, but in a more balanced, kind of healthier.
And how do we do that? Because I'm even trying to work it out in my industry. So
it's tough, right?
It's tough, babes, yes.
I think it's being more organized in a sense where you're not wasting time, being able to build better systems and SOPs for our teams as well. And that, in essence, has to be from leadership downwards, right? If I'm able to be a better leader, then I can create a system where my team isn't working 18 hours as well, and they can get that balance with their families and such. Like, it's silly. Like, it's something as simple as, does it make sense for me to be standing there and chopping onions and peeling shrimp for 10 hours a day? No. But if I can create a system where there's another team who can handle all of that work and I can handle all the leadership stuff, then it trickles downwards, right? Then my chef de cuisine, my sous chefs, my CDPs, they all have better systems and be more efficient, right?
In order to do that as a leader, you have to relinquish.
They do.
Which
that's hard.
Which is the harder
That's
part.
hard.
And particularly in an industry, I would assume, like being a chef, where your Midas touch is the touch.
You hope that you've trained your team well enough where they can have that touch. But it's hard to let go. I'm not gonna lie. Like, saying that I've been able to do that is a lie.
Yeah.
I'm still there pretty much every night during service. I'm still there on the pass. I'm still there finishing everything, tasting everything, checking everything. So it's this weird balance that you have to kind of find. But for our industry in particular, most successful chefs have this weird OCD kind of mentality, and we like to do it. So.
I love the fact that you're trying to balance it though.
Trying.
Because I think we have a responsibility to the next generation.
Exactly.
I like your story. I lived in New York. I did an internship. I earned $400 a month, which basically meant I ate pizza slices for like 6 years, and I was really skinny. That's not necessarily healthy.
It's not. It's
right?
like, we laugh about it, but it's very unhealthy.
Yeah, it is. So we're trying to change it. We're trying to do good. We're trying. We're going to get there.
We'll get there.
Talk to me about how long it took, because talking of next generation, with Instagram and TikTok, they seem to think these things just happen overnight. But what was the time span for you?
So this is the weird thing. We say we don't celebrate it, but in our industry in particular, if you don't go through that grind, you don't get it.
Right. And
it's weird, but I've done a lifetime of cooking already. So I started when I was 12. It's 33 years I've been doing this.
Yeah.
And that's, like, in other industries, that's someone's entire career.
Yeah.
And only now have we reached a point where, am I successful?
Yes.
I mean,
I will tell you.
in my mind, success is if the restaurant's busy. And blessed enough that our restaurant, Dubai, has blessed us enough and embraced us. I think the restaurant's busy. So we are in a point now where I would say, yeah, we are a success. But it's taken 33 years.
Yeah.
It's not something like, oh, I can go to culinary school 2 years and I come out, oh, I'm a chef. It doesn't happen like that.
No.
So you do have to go through that cycle of earning it and learning how to be a chef, right?
And I think that is the conundrum. It is, how do you ensure that people have the grit and they have the confidence and they have the work ethic, which you only get when you go through that, but at the same time balance the mental health, pandemic that someone can get through going through it.
I mean, I hate to point fingers, but like this next upcoming generation, like my son's generation, that grit and that determination, it's not there. Like, a lot of our younger generation doesn't have that grit. And I don't know if it's because the way of the world, I don't know if it's
because we mollycoddled them.
But like my son, like, we push him hard now because I want him to get that perseverance. I want him to have that grit, like, can't give up.
It's funny, my daughter, who's just turned 13, she does ice skating, like figure skating, and she does drama. And the other day she said to me, she said, Mum, Saturdays, I don't want to do any activities. I said, no. She said, no, the weekends is my weekend off. I thought, what?
Have you earned it?
What are you talking about? So yeah, it's a balancing act, correct. Your son's name is the name of your restaurant.
Yeah, we, again, so what we have now at June's, what we've created, it's a lot of me in every single facet of the restaurant. The whole experience, it's my journey. So from the service to the drinks to the ambiance, the music, the food especially, there are little hints and tastes of Kelvin all sprinkled throughout.
And what does that mean, tastes and hints of Kelvin?
So I always describe June's as a third culture restaurant. My background is the definition of third culture. I'm a Canadian-born Chinese who grew up in that Chinese environment, but trying to reabsorb my Chinese culture while being a part of that North American Canadian upbringing. You go through this kind of cultural mystery as a young kid, and being able to kind of embrace it now and really dive deep into it, especially with the cuisine and the food. It's the next evolution of Kelvin. So instead of giving it a label, which I think nowadays we shouldn't have these labels anyways, you can't describe the food. And that was a little bit of the difficulty when we first opened, because people saw me and they heard about me and they're like, oh, it's going to be a Chinese restaurant. Oh, it's going to be another Asian restaurant. And what we do is so different. What we do is we embrace that essence. We give you that soul and flavors of Asia and those Asian like touches, but in a very kind of playful kind of Kelvin manner. And that goes in hand with the ambiance, with the music. Like, it's my playlist. You know, like it's old school hip hop, like things like that. It's warm, it's friendly, and that came about with the name as well. I was struggling with the name and kind of overthinking it. And I was like, just name it after him. So my son's name is Bodhi, but his Chinese name is Cheung Junwai. So we took the Jun and made it into June's. And strangely enough, I think it's a sign of destiny. Without meeting my partner's family at that time, 2 months into the project, when I finally decided the name, I talked to her about it. It turns out that her son's name is Jun. So both of our sons have the Jun in our names without knowing it.
Wow.
2 months into the project.
I love that. I want to dig into something you said that's quite powerful, which is when you are third generation, there's a blend between your culture and where you grew up. I love the fact that you're saying you play old school hip hop in the restaurant. I personally went through that. I'm British born. My parents are from the Caribbean and Latin America, so I'm Black British. And it's a journey of finding where do you sit, and are you one camp or are you the other? Are you a blend? What was that journey like for you, and how did you bring that alive intentionally in the restaurant?
It's one of those journeys as a young child. You get that kind of cultural crisis for your identity. We were kids, and obviously we spoke English in our household and with our classmates and whatever, but we were forced into Chinese school. But we were the only ones who didn't have a grasp of our own native language. And like, let me tell you, kids suck. You know, so it became a battleground. We fought our entire lives to prove that we were Chinese enough for the Chinese community, but we were also Canadian enough for the Canadians. You know, and it's one of those things that, like, it sucks, but you have to go through. And as my evolution of a chef came about, I went from ultra French fine dining to kind of opening my own restaurants and thinking that I was going to be a pan-Asian chef for most of my career, to the next evolution of where we are now, where there is no label. And I think that's kind of the key, not only in our industry, but in life now, in the world now, right? Like, do we really need a label? Like, do I really need to identify myself as something? Why can't I just be Kelvin? Like, why can't I just be Chef Kelvin? Like, why do I have to be a chef who does Japanese or Chinese or French or whatever? So it's kind of the evolution of the world, I think. And I fully embraced what we've been able to do at June's. We've been very blessed that people, they like it.
I love the fact that you're like, can I just be Chef Kelvin? Yeah. And what my soul heard you say is, can you just experience me?
Exactly.
Rather than label me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I so love that. So you opened up here in Dubai. How did we get from North America to the Middle East?
I was kind of a roving nomad for most of my life. Other than working in North America, I got my first job in Belgium, worked there for a couple of years, bounced back around throughout North America as well. I was opening a restaurant in Toronto, and we got into a bit of a tiff with the landlord. So pre-opening, we just dropped the restaurant, we dropped the whole project, and exactly 48 hours later, I got a phone call from one of my former students who I taught at culinary school. He had opened a place in Bombay, of all places. They spent a bomb, they got an insane kind of bar people to do it, some great chefs, spent a ton of money, but it just never took off, it never worked. So he called me up and he was just like, you want to come to India? And I was like, no. Like, I had no desire to go there. But this was early 2011, and he told me about this really insane market change in India. It was the most explosive, fast-growing segment of people who want food. This is when Twitter was just starting, not even before Instagram. This is when Twitter was just starting, and people were kind of really into learning about whatever was happening in the global cuisine stage. So I was like, you know what? I'm not doing anything. Let's do it. 6-month contract, leap of faith. I brought my 2 sous chefs. I brought a GM. I brought a bartender. We flew out there, guns blazing. We'd wake up at 4 in the morning and go to the vegetable market in Washi. We'd go to the Sassian docks, get our own fish. We were flying in ingredients from all around the world. We prep all day. 5 p.m. doors open, and we'd serve 1 table. And I could not figure it out. For 5 months, we were literally just toiling around and feeding 2-3 tables a night. And what I finally heard was that the place had opened with such hype and such pomp that people hated the place. So near the end of my contract, I talked to the owner. I was like, hey, listen, you brought me out here for a reason. If you believe in me, just give me 1 shot. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, then we pack up, we go home. I trashed the concept. Instead of trying to follow what the previous chefs were trying to do with this crazy 26 component dishes and all this nonsense, I still held the same kind of quality, so very fine dining quality, but we made it a very fun place. We made it fun dining, and it took off.
What does fun dining look like?
So it's a lot of comfort food while still executing all those those technical kind of fine dining techniques. And upholding the same standards, same ingredients, but just approachable, fun flavors. And that 6-month contract turned into 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then from India, got you up
so after
there?
India, after we left there, I was kind of looking around the market, and I had previously scouted Dubai with several other hospitality groups. And for me, Dubai ticked all the boxes. It was a place where if you were doing something of high quality, something that was original, it's the perfect place to establish a brand, to build a new business, and to be successful. So that was one major box. And the other major box was how safe it is, how clean it is. It was a great opportunity. My wife could work here and she could build her own brand and build her own business. And it's the perfect place for kids.
Dubai equally has got all of those things, and I agree, but in terms of hospitality, it's also extremely saturated. A restaurant's opening all the time, and your restaurant has been consistent. How have you kept that?
Dubai's F&B scene is one of the fast-paced, most exponentially fastest growing segments in the world. I think there's so many great chefs and great restaurants and great groups doing really cool things in Dubai. And I think the key to our success is that our food and our experience is unlike any other. Because it's pretty much just me, it stands out with the rest.
Is there little tricks that you have under your sleeve? Because when I say, I'm not joking, that your restaurant has continued, and a lot don't. You get in Dubai, you get a lot of the launch, the boom, and then the bust, because people constantly want to go to new places. Are you finding that you're attracting new people all the time, or is it retention? Kind of how's it working from the business side?
We're very blessed because Dubai has supported us so much, Dubai tourism, all these kind of things. We've been very blessed with the accolades and all that kind of stuff as well. But I think what we do well is that because the way I create dishes now, the way I create plates now, I pull them from my own memories. And my belief is that food is our common denominator across the world. Even if you grew up somewhere in the UK, I grew up somewhere in Toronto, a plate that I can create, if I can trigger a memory or a nostalgic memory that you have, somewhere along the lines that connect will happen. And because of the social changes in the world now, people's time span, attention spans are much, much shorter. But if I can trigger that effect with you, people these days have greater connect with feelings as opposed to brand names. And that's the key to our success, I think.
I like that. I've never actually put food and emotional experience together, but you're spot on.
It's wild, right?
What is so wild?
I can do a dish that I had in Bombay, and it could be something that you've never had. But because it's that common denominator, there will be a flavor, there'll be a texture, there'll be a smell, something that will come across and trigger something you've had somewhere along your journey.
That's so cool and so true. I'm going to remember that the next time I go eating. I'm going to be like, what is this triggering? Social media. I mean, you've got a brand, right? You are fun, you are vibrant, your socials popping. How important is that, and how much attention do you give it, or is it organic?
Again, it's a very weird a case in comparison to the rest of the industry. None of my stuff is planned. My stuff is very organic, so it could just be me messing around with my wife or just bothering her. Or it could be me playing around with my kid or making something with him. And I think that's why my Instagram in particular has worked, especially for the restaurant. So now we did a random chocolate cake for a special, and I had 9 tables come in for it within an hour, and we sold it right away.
Wow.
But because it's organic and it's true and it's not staged, I think that was the biggest difference with our social.
A lot of people, because obviously I'm a brand specialist, and when I say to people like yourself, you are the brand, you need to show up on socials, they're like, oh, this is exhausting, how do I juggle it? But I feel like you just find it fun. Like it's just part of who you are.
It's just me. I don't take myself very seriously, to be honest. I think I'm still a kid, even though I'm not.
Yeah. We all do.
I'm pretty immature. So I'm happy to do whatever, and I'm very blessed because my wife Andrea, she's the brains, and I'm just the muscle. So if she's like, "Oh, go jump in the pool," I'm like, "Oh yeah." It's a very simple process.
Yeah, I love that. Talking of the kind of infrastructure, so. You've got a bit of a formula because you've seen generations do the business of it. Are you bringing your children into the business?
It's funny, I just talked to my partner yesterday, and she was like, how cool would it be is in 20 years when we're old and slowing down, that if our kids were there talking about the business and moving on. I've been through it, and when I finally had that conversation with my parents and had to sit down, it was a very tough conversation because you kind of shatter their dreams. The immigrant dreams are always like, oh, we kill ourselves so that our kids can be a professional and have a better life and whatever. And telling them that I was not going to be a doctor, I was not going to fulfill their dreams and just go back to the kitchen. I was shocked by how calm they were, because my dad just literally sat me down and he was like, listen, you've seen, first off, my relationship with your mother. You'll be very lucky if you can find a partner who understands the F&B life. And then he looked me dead in the eye and it was like, what was our relationship growing up? And I was like, what relationship? And it's exactly. It's like the only time we saw each other and spent time together was when you were washing dishes or you were in the kitchen. And I was like, great point. And it's like every holiday, every birthday, every big celebration, every playoff, everything that you want to do and see, you'll be at work and your friends will be out playing. And this is something that you really need to make sure that it's what you want. And looking at my son's future, our industry sucks. The success rate is very, very low, and it's a tough life. So as a parent, to be honest, I'm hoping he doesn't. But I think my wife and I are on the same page that we want to let him be on his own journey, his own path. If he wants to end up cooking, which I really hope he doesn't, all for it, and I will support it. But I'm hoping he doesn't.
I love that. My mum wanted me to be a lawyer, and I was dancing around in a ballet tutu and was having no part of it. So I get it when parents are like, "This is what I've got for you," and you're like, "No, I think I want to do a podcast instead. I think I want to do branding."
I mean,
yeah. I think I struck okay, right?
Not bad.
I think so. I think it's important as parents, and I think you're spot on, to facilitate whatever their dream is and let them dream those dreams.
We do our best, right?
We do our best. All right, we like to do quick fire questions around here. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Chinatown brunch or Dubai fine dining?
Chinatown brunch for sure.
Tell me why.
Both my wife and I, we're very simple people. You'll rarely catch us at these fancy places anymore, unless it's to support our friends, which we're staunch believers of. But our weekly kind of date night or get out, we go to Karama and we get Ethiopian. We go for fried chicken in Barsha. We get dosa on the weekends. We're very casual people, and I like that simple, kind of honest kind of experience.
And the balance in your life. I get that. Mentorship or empowerment?
Ooh, looking back, I think mentorship was the key, especially in the F&B industry. It's the way that you need to be guided, and at a young stage as a chef, you need your ass kicked for a couple of years before you can move on.
And you're doing a lot of mentorship around sustainability and where your industry can go with that. So
huge believer in it. Even though we're not a green, sustainable restaurant per se, we have been able to change most of our ingredients and products. Over 90% is working with local farmers, getting things that are in season, as well as mentoring my team. My team is run by 3 girls who do everything for me. I wouldn't be able to do it without them. And they're 3 girls who have been in Dubai for many, many years. But in the beginning of their careers, they were stuck here and no one was teaching them anything. But just giving them that opportunity and that kind of stage where they have my support, it's really a big change in our industry.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate for mentorship. Keep the door open for the next generation
100%.
and you support them along the way. Okay, showboats or sand between your toes? Oh, so snow or sand?
So,
Snow. You like the cold?
I'm Canadian.
Fair. Oh, yeah, it's too cold there, though.
My wife hates it.
Oh, no, me too. I'm British and I hate the rain.
We're also very outdoorsy people. I get the whole beach kind of environment,
Yeah.
but I think it's because of the way I work and stuff. I get very antsy.
Right.
So even on a beach holiday, by like the second day, we're just like, we need to do something.
Fair. So you go to Russell Cayman and do the
All
mountains.
that stuff. We're city people. We get lost. We're mountain people. We're forest people. Beach we can do for like an hour.
And then you're done. See, I can do beach all day, but I also like the mountains. Okay, Dubai Spice or Chicago Comfort?
Dubai Spice.
Dubai Spice.
Yeah.
Chef Kelvin, you're a rock star. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Amazing. Well, I enjoyed this one. I highly recommend that you go and enjoy the ambience of June's. A little bit of hip hop music, a little bit of Chinese flavor mixed up with North America. Sounds like a joy to me. I will meet you there. Until next time, have a good one.
This podcast was hosted by brand marketing expert QB Springer and produced by Avant Garde Brand Experiences and AURA Skypool.